An unusual behaviour of hippo from the notes of Edmund Teale, compiled between 1908 and 1936. As a rule, hippo are very cautious and shy animals, usually showing just the nose and eyes above water to survey the surroundings and disappearing below water rapidly if there is any cause for alarm. At night, they will come out and invade native farms and do much damage to crops. They are not generally regarded as dangerous, but they are sometimes troublesome in attacking and overturning canoes. Natives have been killed in trying to drive off hippos from their farms at night. The particular incident to be related occurred in Tanganyika. I was leading a safari when we came to the steep bank of a river which somehow we would have to cross. On looking down onto the water, we saw the backs of about a dozen hippo, apparently more or less asleep in broad daylight. This was a most unfrequented place, and they evidently felt secure. My first thought was to get a photograph of this unusual scene. I motioned to the carriage to stop and to be silent. I seized the camera, which was ready on its tripod, and was just about to take the snap when there came a slight noise which woke them up, and to my surprise, instead of submerging in the water, which I afterwards discovered was not deep enough, they all charged up the bank onto the other side and disappeared in a dense thicket on that side. My photograph was unfortunately a blurred one. We stopped for lunch while the porters found a fording place nearby and crossed over. We soon followed, but to our astonishment, the porters were all in the trees and their loads on the ground, while the hippos in the meantime were trying to hide themselves in the jungly undergrowth. Tunnel-like paths made by the hippos were the only means of exit from the river's bank. A little careful reconnoitring along these soon revealed parts of the hippos' backs, projecting ominously from these possible outlets. The idea of a fire to scare them was too risky, and anyhow, the green vegetation was not promising for such an experiment. In order to get a better survey of the situation, my colleague and I climbed a tree, from which we could identify the position of most of the hippo. Shouting and making noise had no effect, so we tried a couple of shots in the air, but still the hippos took no notice. After waiting some time, two porters ventured to find a way out. They had no sooner picked up their loads and were trying to creep around this barricade when there was a sudden stampede, a crashing of bushes, yelling of the two boys, the falling of their boxes, and a loud splash as two hippo plunged over the bank into the river. No one was hurt, but the two natives were safe in the trees again, and our escape from the hold-up appeared no nearer. We were very unwilling to start shooting, but something had to be done. We decided to shoot one in the hope that this would scare the others. This was done, but still the others refused to budge. We were most unwilling to slaughter more of these animals, and we finally persuaded our porters to make another attempt to get out, which was effected without further incident. But we had been so delayed with this adventure, and further, there was the dead hippo whose meat would provide welcome food for the porters, so we decided to camp for the night. While the camp was being pitched, Wade, my colleague, and I, with several of our porters, prepared to deal with the dead hippo. We approached through the riverine jungle by cutting with machetes, and to our surprise, the remaining hippos, about 9 in number, were still in the bush, some decidedly in our way in approaching the dead one. We had practically to get them away by prodding them with sticks. The meat was much appreciated by the porters, who smoked dried what they could not eat at once, and we secured an abundant supply of cooking fat.